Now, Wyatt raises a good question. He said, I feel like Light would so easily expose him though. I don't know, man. I think he would just see through it. Now, Batman's trying to figure out and solve the Kira case, obviously. Now, with that being said, Light can very well counter him by also revealing his identity and figuring that out himself. Now, I think it's under the impression that Batman's going to the world of Death Note and that he's in Light's world. I don't think it's like, okay, the worlds collide, because now even if Light revealed Batman's identity, would it even matter? Because his villains wouldn't even be here, you know? Batman in a world with no villains is no like super villains is OP. Crime would be absolutely done for. Could Batman solve the Kira case? Let's lock in. Let me know if the video's too loud.
It is your host, Seth the Programmer, and today we're going to be going over something a little different. Today we're going to be going over Batman and the world of Death Note.
In the world of Death Note, okay, see?
Case. I figured this would be interesting due to the fact that most people really don't talk about Batman as a detective or his deductive reasoning.
Yeah.
They really only talk about how he can create weird
IQ well over 250, so
beings and what he can do in a fight. And what better way to see how he stacks up as a detective than to throw him in one of the most popular cat and mouse novels out there, Death Note. Also, if you do like this video or want more content like this,
I think Batman can figure it out. I don't think it would be.
It really helps gauge how much you guys really want these kind of videos, and
I think it would be.
If you want something unique.
Now, here's what okay, before we really get into it, I think that Batman's identity would be too easily found, especially in the Death Note universe. Yeah, but even yeah, and then Light would just write his name in the Death Note and he would be dead. Ooh, okay. Yes, that would be too easy to find. Yeah, it would be too easy to find out. I mean, it feels like it would be, but I was also thinking too, now L's approach was very different because L, he just immediately knew, but he just needed to put the evidence and the pieces together to really convince everyone else, you know? I don't think Batman would have that approach. I think Batman would be more methodical and like step by step. It wouldn't just be like, I know it's you, I just need to find out a way to prove it.
It really helps gauge how much you guys really want these kind of videos. And like I said, if you want something unique, hit the button. You know, it really does show that this is something you want to see. The premise of the video will go a little something like this. We'll be taking Gotham City and Batman from DC Comics and putting them into the world of Death Note. Gotham being placed arbitrarily in America.
Oh, so they're putting Gotham City in
replacing L. So that means the super detective L does not exist at the moment in this hypothetical, and will instead
be Gotham City does exist,
taking on L's role per se. Batman will not get outside help and will have to use his raw deduction and skill to beat the case.
Okay.
The win conditions are as follows: convict Light and prove that he is Kira.
Right.
And the losing conditions are as follows: arresting Light without legal evidence, which is the ability to keep him in jail, because Batman does have a problem of arresting criminals and not being able to keep them in jail because of the evidence he obtained. Killing Light without proving he is Kira first, or Light kills himself before Batman can prove he is Kira. It may sound strange, as if Light kills himself or Batman,
but he would only do that.
It would seem that the world would be rid of Kira, right? However, L and many others from Whammy's house like Mello and B consider this a loss. This was shown in the BB Murders Case novel by Nisio.
I'm not reading all that, but
B is the backup / copy of
JPart used that giant forehead of his and he catching the killer. Right.
And by the end of it, B planned on killing himself and pretending to be one of the victims. B did this because if B were to kill himself, then L would never be able to prove who the killer actually was outside of speculation, and then B would have defeated L since L couldn't solve the case for good. For its quality of L's backstory by Oba himself. However, there is another novel called L Changed the World, and while this is an alternate continuity and somewhat takes L out of character, it has a similar theme going for it. In this continuity, L actually ends up almost securing the victory over Light, and Light can't find out L's name or convince Rem to kill him, and so Light kills himself in prison with the Death Note scrap in his watch, in which L considers this an utter defeat. Remember that this is, can Batman solve the case, not Light versus Batman death battle.
Yeah, no.
Since this video is Batman taking L's place, we'll give him that similar rule. Even if Batman considers it a loss or not, the world of Death Note and its detectives do consider it a loss if those conditions are reached. Another rule is that Light Yagami must find out Batman's secret identity, Bruce Wayne, and write that in the Death Note. I've seen some question the idea that Batman once gripped the lasso of truth and he said that his name was Batman. However, this doesn't inherently have to mean Batman is his first identity or the identity the Death Note would want written inside
So
of it.
Light outing Batman and getting his name and killing him
saying
is a win
Batman is
condition,
his name
obviously.
isn't
Okay.
a lie, and could mean he considers Batman an actual name of his as well as Bruce. 2, it could mean that he has resistance to things that try to force him to reveal his identity, and could convince even the lasso of truth that he's telling the truth even if he really isn't. This wouldn't be too far-fetched if Batman has convinced people many times like Deathstroke that Bruce isn't his real identity. 3, it could mean that he himself believes that Batman is his true name or identity.
But
he
I mean,
be lying by saying it. This
Light isn't about to find no lasso of truth or nothing, like
psychological tricks, etc.
He's gonna figure it out somehow from unconventional methods.
However, the Death Note doesn't care about detective codes or the mental state of the person.
Let me remember, okay, let me refresh myself. Batman Beyond shows that Bruce even refers to himself as Batman in his head, but Bruce Wayne is still his name. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how Light would figure that out. What angles could he even take to figure out that Batman is Bruce? Like, to get his name, you know? I don't know. Let me refresh myself on the Death Note rules, though. The human whose name is written in this note shall die, correct? This note will not take effect unless the writer has the person's face in their mind when writing his or her name. Therefore, people sharing the same names will not be affected. That is a very important rule too. Because he can find out that he's Bruce Wayne. I mean, obviously, images of him, he's a billionaire. Images would be everywhere. So, it wouldn't be hard to find, figure out his face. But depending on the scenario, like if Light is about to, say he's in jail, he would have to like maybe see Bruce Wayne before. But say he's in jail, he figures out his name is Bruce Wayne, but he doesn't know what Bruce Wayne looks like, and he doesn't have access to see something a picture or like, something in his memory of him. I don't know. But anyways, if the cause of death is written within 40 seconds of writing the person's name, within 40 seconds of writing the person's name, it will happen, okay? If the cause of death is not specified, the person will simply die of a heart attack, yes. After writing the cause of death, details of the death should be written in the next 6 minutes and 40 seconds.
It wants the original identity of the person, meaning it would want Bruce Wayne in this case. This is also shown in L Changed the World, where it's unsure what would constitute L's real identity due to how many he appropriates himself with, yet L writes L Laliet, his original name, inside of the Death Note. Long story short, we're going to make Bruce Wayne the goal to avoid confusion and unnecessary contention. The version of Batman will be Batman Rebirth, as choosing a particular Batman could come off as cherry picking, and I don't want people screaming, "You chose that Batman only because he had that weakness, you biased weeb!"
Yeah.
Out of the way, let's begin. Obviously, our story would begin the way Death Note normally did.
All right, let me lock in.
Light notices a notebook on the ground from his classroom window, decides to go pick
Everybody
it up
lock
after
in.
school. He decides to try it out and kills the Shinjuku killer, Otohara Dakuro, as normal, and from here he ends up regretfully killing Takuo Shibuimaru for being too aggressive with a girl, and this causes Light to snap and acknowledge that the world is a disgusting place that needs to change.
Yeah.
Light would then go on to start writing names in his death note, making sure not to kill anybody too major, so that the police wouldn't
Okay. Sorry, I love to talk about this because I like to think about what I would do if I had a death note. And what would y'all do if you had a death note? Because me personally, there's a lot of names going on that list. All right. I see one inkling. Oh, I just don't know. If I see one inkling and like if someone's just really just not redeemable, they're getting written in that death note. I'm not gonna lie. Anybody touching kids, that Epstein list. Oh my gosh. Give me a hold of that Epstein list. Every single document, I'm going through there and I'm every morning writing in cursive. I'm writing names like I am practicing how to write again. Oh my gosh.
The killings or keep anything a secret. After killing many people and starting to gain a few conspiracy theories around the world,
I am absolutely right. I'm feeling that.
Declares, "I'm going to make the whole world know I'm here, that somebody is passing righteous judgment on them." Of course, Light was written this way so that, for one, the world would begin to change from his actions and acknowledge Kira, and two, so that people could catch his trail. After this, Interpol, aka the International Police, start to notice something is fishy. However, they have no leads and can't prove anything is happening outside of coincidence. This is
haven't
normally
seen that
where
though yet,
Elle
so I'll
would
take
step
my
in to
LARP
organize the
allegation.
police around the
Valid.
world. However, in this timeline,
LARP
a vigilante
peacefully
takes the
king.
scene to take it up by himself, Batman.
You just say vigilante ill. Vigilante, get it right.
From here, a matter of perspective comes into play. How would Batman go about convicting Kira? And I think the best way to do this is to actually compare how Elle operates to Batman. Elle is rather manipulative.
This is what I wanted to see because they're very different.
Willing to drop bodies and ruin lives to win a case. All throughout the series, he's shown faking his emotions. Even in scenes where everyone is freaking out, you'll notice Elle is never drawn with a genuine sweat mark on his face, showing that he's not actually surprised or concerned. And this was done deliberately by Obata to show Elle's actual mental state. And Oba even goes as far as to say Elle is slightly evil in How to Read, which is showcased by Elle trying to even manipulate Light by calling him his friend when he actually despises him. Or how he used Lindell Taylor's body as a Death Note sponge to draw out Kira and then laugh at him publicly to challenge him for the spot of top mind in the world, or as Nier calls it, the Battle of Pride. The question then becomes, would Batman do anything like this? And the answer is yes, he could, but he would do it in a more dominant format, more mature as well. Although he probably wouldn't sacrifice criminals since it's not necessary. He's seeking evidence for himself to convict Light, and then looking to prove that Kira exists to the police later to keep him in jail. Not the other way around like Elle did. Batman.
I feel like Batman is just like, I just feel like Batman, you know, I really sleep on his detective skills. And I'm thinking it would just be, I feel like Batman's methods wouldn't be so extreme to the extent Elle went, because Elle was just such, he was low-key egotistical to the point where, I mean, like he said, Nier said it was a battle of pride and the smartest minds and things like that. And I feel like that wouldn't affect Batman, but Batman is also not finna just use people as bait to draw him out. Like, unless, I mean, because the only way you could draw Light out is by killing. This is difficult. Because Batman, I feel like he's not just gonna throw people out to die so that he can get closer to Kira. He's not. Batman's not about sacrificing. I mean, I'm sure there's times in the comics where he sacrificed a certain amount of people to save X amount, but like, ultimately, he's gonna be. He's like a over-glorified. This sounds horrible, but like an over-glorified police officer. I mean, he's a vigilante at the end of the day. He's still a hero. He's still going to do things in an ethical way that makes sense to Batman. I don't know how to explain it.
Travel to Japan immediately, as even Elle figured Kira was in Japan even before Lindell Taylor died. You may then be asking, what's to say Batman would figure this out just because Elle did? And the answer is quite a simple gauge of raw intelligence.
Yep, IQ.
Elle is an insane
both over 200.
prodigy, considered one of the greatest minds on Earth in Death Note How to Read, and the greatest detective on the planet. By just 8 years old, he was smart enough to stop World War III, and by the time he was a young adult and B was challenging him, Mello states his ability as that of 5 ordinary investigative bureaus and 7 intelligence agencies. As a reminder, Einan Celeste Colley, who has an estimated IQ of 206.
This little jit has an IQ of 263. The Irish child genius is projected to have an IQ of 263. At 8 years old, he was already taking third-year chemistry courses at Singapore Polytechnic. And by the time he was 9, he'd memorized the first 518 decimal places of pi. Now 18. Now he seems to have a knack for entertainment, having writing the script and composed music for a short film called Reflection at age 12. Could you be a... This is literally... Bro, they made him in a lab. This is pay to win. Because how are you... At 8 years old, this intelligent? Like, that doesn't even make sense. There's got to be something wrong with him. He got all the brains in the world, but there's got to be something wrong with him. He got to be, I don't know. His organs got to be shifted all over the place.
63.
You can't just have that raw intelligence and just, bro, he is just destined for success. Or it's like you have IQ, all the IQ in the world. We're getting off topic.
Gave his first public lecture
That's
at the
crazy.
age of 6, and at 7 years and 1 month of age, he had passed the GCSE chemistry and studied chemistry at the tertiary level in Singapore Polytechnic a year later. And at 9, he was able to recite pi to 518 decimal places and can remember the periodic
This
table.
is real life.
In this case, however, at 8 years old, Elle had more ability than more than likely any detective on the planet, and he was the one who
Oh my
actually
gosh,
figured
my
out and
headset's
stopped the
saying low
bombings that would
battery.
have caused World War III, which would then inspire Watsuri to create Whammy's house. This means Elle's IQ as an 8-year-old child is easily in the 250 through 300 IQ range, bar our real life.
Holy. Okay. Now I need to know Batman's real IQ, because I guess when I looked it up, it was well over 250. How well over are we talking?
Life standards, and as an adult, it could be even more astronomical, as Mello states that Elle gets more intelligent as he gets older. Batman is a bit more ludicrous and out there in comparison. For example, Batman was more accurately able to predict when Horus Pex would fire, and even when a time-traveling robot would turn up and appear, when in both instances Brainiac couldn't. For those that don't know,
that's crazy.
Brainiac
That's
is a 12th level
that's
intellect,
actually
with a
crazy.
6th level intellect rivaling that of all of humanity combined. Meaning
Yeah.
Batman had better deduction than a being who was outside of human comprehension, whereas Elle is rivaling numerous bureaus put together and is debatably peak human intelligence, give or take. Although even then,
Batman got some feats too, man.
In Death Note, how to
He got
read,
some
but a
feats.
Shinigami by the name of Nu, Shinigami having intelligence similar to scale as humans, has maxed out intelligence. So in all actuality, yes, Batman is far more qualified to make the deduction that light is in Japan than Elle, or even all of humanity put together even
It's
is.
just, then
But of course,
Batman's
the hunt
in
isn't
there,
totally
bruh.
one-sided. Out of all of Batman's perks, he has
true.
his fair set of weaknesses here. The main one being that it's not actually all that hard to truly figure out who he is, especially if you don't actually care about who dies for you to find out. Now, while many characters have
Okay, this is because he said it's not that hard to figure out who he is. I mean, because when you think about it, when you think about the genuine resources Batman has, like the Batwing, like all Batmobile, everything, the equipment, like Batarang, cave, like all the resources in the world, all the money in the world to fund creating these things, and all the technology and stuff, you would be like, okay, who in the world, if I am light, I'm thinking, who in the world would have these amount of resources to track me down? And you would just start sifting through, because it's so many people you can rule. It's so many people you can rule out. Like, think about it. Okay, from Batman's perspective, yes, he has good deductive reasoning. There's a lot of people he has to really investigate into. But then he would find out it's Japan immediately and narrow it down as well. On top of that, it's easier for Light to figure out who Batman is, even though he doesn't have the resources as much, rather than Batman to figure out Light, because it's a huge pool of people you have to choose from. But with Light, it's like, okay, who has the money and power to maneuver like this dude?
tried exposing Bruce's identity and Batman has squirmed his way out of it most times, Light would not worry about exposing or confirming Bruce's identity. He pressed the switch the second he figured that Bruce had the qualifications of Batman. For Batman, you mainly just have to figure out A, he does most of his work in Gotham and therefore more than likely lives in Gotham. B, is in great shape and is peak human if not greater, therefore he's likely younger. C, he can afford and create insane levels of tech, therefore he must be richer and more intelligent. These basic thoughts that even most people in the comments section would come up with just scream Bruce Wayne, a conveniently young, wealthy American playboy philanthropist and owner of Wayne Enterprises.
And Light doesn't.
Of course, you could say
Light
that
can
maybe
take
he's
the
hired
risk
by the government or something. However, he wouldn't be hard to track even then, and you could still come on to Bruce Wayne and then just investigate him from there. Although,
Literally.
like I said, Light would probably just kill Bruce anyway, just like he did
Yeah, he
Lindell
doesn't have
earlier.
to hesitate.
The Grim Knight, who is basically Batman, who instead of doing what he did normally when
Yeah,
his parents
yeah.
died, shot the muggers that killed them, is
Yep.
considered the most intelligent of the Dark Knights, even including the Batman who
Yep,
laughs,
yep.
whom the Grim Knight tricks into not destroying everything by saying his plan to make.
Because the Grim Knight actually kills people, right? He doesn't like hesitate. Yeah, I mean he uses guns, and that's one of the things Batman doesn't do. Doesn't use weapons, but the Grim Knight, he letting it all fly.
Things too easy and uninteresting, blah blah blah. And the Batman who laughs is a being who, despite being a normal human with prep, is so insane that he can kill powerful beings that could easily solo the human race. However, in this world, the Grim Knight variant is basically Batman on steroids and will even kill criminals.
Yeah,
the Commissioner
yeah.
Gordon of that reality doesn't like this though, and he dedicates himself to figuring.
If it was the Grim Knight hunting Light, he would be done. He would be absolutely done. I'm living right now. I'm so delayed. I can't keep up with the convo. This is BS. Hey man, you know, we'll talk about it again after once I post it on YouTube. I don't know. But yeah, the Grim Knight, if it was a Grim Knight versus Light, GG's.
Out Batman's identity, and he does. Gordon then hunts him down, beats the shit out of him, strips Wayne Industries and all of its assets, then throws him in jail. So, as you can see, imagine Batman has god tier level deduction and stats, but it's not terribly hard to figure out who he is yourself, and many people have actually done so, even with his most intelligent versions. From here, it's clear that Light could more than likely deduce Batman's identity, but now the question is, would he try to? Now we'll question the skills and initiative of Batman and take his skills to the fullest. For one, Batman's approach would be much different than L's. Whereas L sees Light as a challenge in his battle of pride and his detective code, Batman would simply see Light as a criminal. This is important because L tries his best to goad Light into acting and challenge him directly on air, announcing himself as an enemy immediately, but Batman doesn't necessarily have to announce himself as an enemy, if announce himself at all. And while Batman is probably extremely popular...
This is my thing. Batman, how long would it take for Light to recognize he's being tracked by Batman? Batman could be so secretive with it too, you know? Unless Light would Light would have to get rid of his opposition, anyone he might see as a potential threat. Because, okay, let me word this right. So if Light is living in the world, yada yada, he sees Batman existing in Gotham. Being the vigilante that he is, Light, no, because see, Light kills people he thinks is, no, but he was trying to kill L because L was trying to catch on to him. So Light is really believing he's doing something right and correct and all that, yada yada yada. So if he saw Batman just in the streets being a vigilante, stopping crime and stuff, I wonder if Light would then in his head go, okay, I probably should stop this dude before he tries to start catching on to me. Or would he wait until Batman is already so deep in his investigation of him to where it would be too late to even try? I don't know.
In Gotham, and his name would definitely reach the internet. It's not as if Light would view him as an enemy. He'd view him as
that's
someone
what I'm
who
saying.
loved true justice, a vigilante
Exactly.
who wasn't scared to break the law to protect the world, similar to him.
That's what I was trying to figure out. That's what I was trying to say. Would Light even see him as a threat, or just see him as a true hero of justice and just let him do what he does, you know? And I'll do it my way, how I see fit, you know?
Also, Light didn't even know about L until L rubbed his name in his face on air, even though his father was the chief of police and all of Interpol pretty much knows who L is, casting a lot of doubt on Light immediately knowing of Batman anyway. Although even if he did, since Batman has wild superhuman feats, it doesn't mean Light would target him.
Yeah,
this may seem like a disadvantage for
thinking.
Batman actually, because this is how L originally proved Light was in the Kanto region of Japan. However, like I said before, this would not be needed to actually deduce he was there. It's only really needed to challenge and make Light angry, as well as prove it to the public off the bat, which Batman doesn't need to do, since Bruce doesn't need Interpol or local police to help him. This is because the Shinjuku killer was only broadcasted in Japanese media, which L calls out later, and then simply attempts to scan Japan, starting out with Kanto, its most populous region. Batman would easily make a similar, if not greater, deduction. Light unfortunately has a few weaknesses as well that pan themselves out throughout the series that Oba left in to let L catch on to Kira. The first big one is the fact that Light originally killed people during his off hours from school, which immediately gave away the fact that he was a student, as well as the Shinjuku mistake he made earlier, which he did not knowing
There's
that
a
the
lot
death
of
note would even
flaws
work to
in
begin with.
There's a lot of flaws in Light's game, I'm not gonna lie.
He'd more than likely be scouring the schools of Kanto, Japan first, similar to L. L also calls out that the suspect is more than likely highly intelligent due to his methodical and coordinated killings of others. If the police ever caught on that Kira was killing criminals,
but we didn't get
to
the
censor information.
They didn't tell us the IQ of Light, right? Uncle P watched this, but how did he know this? Because I'm using logic and critical thinking. We didn't get. They didn't tell us Light's IQ, though. I don't remember if it was ever said in Death Note either, but I mean, I assume Light is up there as well, but is he up there to the point where, because he was like Light was just student smart, right? He wasn't, I don't know. I don't know. Was he really, is he on Batman's level, you know? Are we on Batman and Kira case? Yeah, seeing it, if Batman could catch,
which is likely.
Kira.
In fact, the Japanese task force suggested it to L numerous
Batman
times.
got it, bro. It's like a no-brainer, low-key, but this is still interesting.
Or use the Japanese police database to find out criminals' names, which Light pretty much already did. This gives Batman even more clue on who Light is, an intelligent school student from Japan with access to private police records. There would only be a few suspects from here: Karayoshi Kudamura's daughter, Sayu Yagami, and Light Yagami mainly. However, even if police records were never accessed, Batman could still find Light even if only using the schools as a reference, because Batman would only have to meet or see Light to actually know it was him for the most part. Examples of this being how when Batman met Thunderbolt and knew he was a fifth dimensional imp right off the bat, or I can read your pulse and tell what you think of others simply by looking at you. So if Batman ever did get in contact with Light Yagami, it's pretty much
he would be done
over.
immediately. You just have to see him and know.
Stereotypical dramatic
That's kind of crazy. That sounds like
monologues, and Batman would read it all like a book, as well as being able to tell when he's feigning ignorance. It'd be similar.
Yeah, because Batman has the tech to hack into anything, and he would get into Light's computer all that easy. Yeah, I think, bro, Batman would find Light faster than L. L was pretty quick though with his methods, but Batman would be just as like. I feel like with Batman, it would be no room. Like Light would make. I feel like there's no room for error if Light was against Batman. It's 4 a.m. I'm finna go to sleep. To some Mario Galaxy OST. Have fun. Have a fun stream. Bye. Take care. Sleep well, my boy. Have a great day tomorrow. Keep doing great things. Be smart, be smooth, all that. All right, look. So what I'm saying is Batman, L found, how long was the span of, see, L knew Light was Kira. He just needed to prove it. Batman would know immediately as well, and he would have to prove it. But I feel like Batman has the resources to prove it faster than Light would have. Light was doing like scenarios and setups and deductive reasoning and all that, but Batman would really be able to hack into his computer. I mean, but it's not like Light or L couldn't do that either. I don't know. I just think Batman would do it faster.
Gave the police department and the suspects all his deductive reasoning test, and only
Light deductive reasoning test.
It might be even worse if you consider the fact that Batman
will be able to find more hard evidence.
He was able to tell Martian Manhunter was present simply by his breathing, and can register these insanely complex beings no problem. He was also able to see Dead Man, who was literally a dead man who could possess living people, kind of like a ghost. In post-crisis, he can even tell when magic or supernatural things have been used in a proximity, making life even more likely. And if that isn't convincing, realize that the League of Shadows has erased Batman's memories up to 3 times, and the League of Shadows is a group of secret wizards that have remained undiscovered for thousands of years, that even give Batman fake memories once he finds them, so he'll stop coming back, and then he finds them again anyway with fake memories. In comparison, an egotistical and clumsily starting out Light Yagami is child's play to find. From
Yeah.
here, Bruce has two options. Either A, introduce himself as Batman, or B, act like Light wasn't a big deal and then stalked him to learn more later. In option
That's why I
A,
think
Bruce would introduce himself as Batman and call Light out for being Kira. However,
he would do option B.
his strategy here would be to convince Light that he works for justice and supports Kira. With Light unable to do anything to Batman, Batman can then sway Light's opinion towards him and possibly get him to admit everything. Batman did this before with Lex Luthor when he convinces him to show him his secret lab, saying he'll help him in exchange. Even if Light doesn't agree to the alliance, Batman will be able to tell if Light is lying or wishes him harm by simply looking at him, as I said before, which will simply have Batman go to Plan B. In Plan B, Batman would stalk Light, similar to Ray Pember. However, the difference between Ray and Bruce is that if Light starts whispering to Ryuk, thinking Bruce is too far away for him to hear, he'd actually hear everything he was saying. As Batman is often credited, no sounds escape him and no movement is hidden. He'd realize that there was something with him even if he couldn't see the Shinigami. If Batman realized Light was hostile, he may even subdue him there and put him immediately into questioning.
Yep.
Which, from there, he would actually hypnotize Light to tell him the truth like he did to Penguin before.
Yeah,
From here,
Batman
all
has
Batman
too
would have to
much
do is
in his
convince
arsenal.
Soichiro to let Batman search his son's room, or go in there on his own merits after overhearing Light speak, or maybe convincing him that he was a good guy and on his side. He'd only ask Soichiro if he wanted to arrest Light legally, but he could probably do it either way, and yes, Soichiro would more than likely listen to Batman. Soichiro cares more about the law than his own son in the end, and this is displayed in all novels and the main series. If Batman ever did enter Light's room, he'd be able to immediately tell if
I'm not gonna lie, Light, phenomenal anime. Great intellect, intelligence. But it's a lot of fictional characters that are so much more smart and capable to find him out. Like, I'm trying to think, like, who else has good deductive I mean, it's just like, bro, if you're dealing with superheroes, it doesn't matter, bro. It doesn't matter. Like, almost, nah, but some are, they all be having high IQs though.
anything was a trap or
But Batman
rigged,
is different.
as there
like,
has been
it's a
instances
cheat
where
code.
he's looked at a completely ordinary looking doorknob and could tell it was a trap. This means the chances of him discovering Light's secret notebook stash and its trap is very high, as well as the fact that he's probably overheard Light talking about it and shopping for its components anyway. This alongside the fact that Batman has insane forensic skills that could even catch criminals by a simple printer streak on a printed map, or the exact actions a car took in its content/color based off of a collision it had, means Batman probably has over a 99% chance of getting Light's notebook or figuring out what he's doing with it and where it is. He's simply too powerful for a pretty much normal smart guy like Light to get around. And it makes sense. DC characters a lot of the time are written to be admirable rather than fully relatable. Whereas in this case, Light and Death Note are kind of written to allow the characters to catch on to each other. They have very exposed weaknesses, and whereas it doesn't have to be so inherent with Batman. After that, he explains all the evidence he got and how his son's prints were all over the notebook,
to Batman's
and
side.
show the trap he had
There's nothing you
in his
can
room
do
and explain
here.
how the Death Note works and how Light operated, and it would be good game. Even if you had Batman come for Light after the death of L and he had Misa helping him, the results would not be much different. I say Misa helping because Oba stated that Light would never trade for the Shinigami eyes and would rather kill himself in prison than get them. In this case, the only threat to Batman is Misa, however he has many contingencies against her. For one, Batman wears a mask under his normal mask a lot of the time, meaning even if Misa took off Batman's mask she wouldn't see his name. And even if she did somehow see his name, using the "if they see your eyes, they can see your name" rule, and Batman noticed hostile intent and that she was up to trying to kill him, he'd more than likely subdue her similar to before. It'd also be way easier for Batman to follow L's footsteps in the Light's direction than before, just like with Nier and Mello, making this a much faster GG. This is of course giving Batman a somewhat more realistic approach based on Death Note's established lore.
This video loud in my ears.
Due to his feats versus Lex Luthor, Darkseid, Brainiac, and so on, this may be a far greater—
Hold on, let me turn this up for y'all, because dang, this is blasting in my ears. This dude is loud.
stomp than I'm letting on. But this is just an easy way to
It would be a
explain it.
huge
And if I were
stomp.
to give him Death Note stats like the How to Read did, it'd probably be a little something like this.
It would be a huge stomp.
Yeah, but pretty broken. A little too
Wait,
strong.
let me see. Okay. Batman compared to L. Okay. Intelligence. I mean, he's maxed out everywhere. Everywhere. There's no way. Batman, no diff. It's not even close. And this video was still interesting because it's like the answer is obvious, but I still want to see it broken down, you know?
Be here. So in the end, Batman would more than likely slap Light like he was a filler villain. Other than that, I know some people will have some comments, so I'll address them here real quick. Doesn't Batman not believe in magic? In New 52, he doesn't, and in fact, he gets Superman, Wonder Woman, and Cyborg killed because of it. Although in Post-Crisis and Rebirth, he does, and could even tell when magic has been used in an area. Question 2. Why not just have Batman use the Mobius chair? I'd rather not bring this up ever. For
that would
one,
just
not only
be
is
like
this outside help, but it makes me develop a disease just thinking about how dumb Batman was in this thing. As an example, he asks the chair who the Joker is, and the chair responds, there are 3 Jokers. So Batman just goes, huh? And gets out of the chair to figure out who they are instead of, you know, just asking the chair who the 3 were. Imagine if you got in the chair and said, who is Kira? And the chair responded, there are 2 Kiras. And Batman just got super anxious and have to look for them instead of asking the chair again. Question 3. Why do you think Batman wouldn't use the police? I say this because he doesn't actually need them. However,
he doesn't need them.
And he
operates a lot without them.
Such as when he kept sending Chronovores after Superman to teach him about teamwork and epically failing. But he doesn't really need them, like I said. If he really needed police record, he could attain them without Interpol or the Japanese police. Anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed. If you want more Death Note or even Batman related content,
W video. This was a monumental sweep. I mean, Light don't even stand a chance, but it was still interesting to see because, you know, I just wanted to know. I mean, it's Batman, bro. You can't, he's too smart. He's too smart. He's too equipped, well equipped, and Light is just a regular student that's above average of intelligence, you know? So anyways, WVid.